Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Hoops with Noops. Of course, I am Alex Noops Christensen, and I'm brought to you by the fine folks at FTN. If you haven't already signed up, you're missing out. FTN has tons of great products, data, tools, extra bets, extra content you get from really sharp guys. It's incredible what some of the stuff is, and you get access to the FTN Bets Discord. I mention it a lot. I'm going to mention it a lot today. Every bet I make goes in there, including the bets I share here as quickly as possible, as well as some other derivative markets and some player props that I wait a little bit closer till game time to bet. So if you want the full Noops experience, you got to sign up for FTN and get into that Discord. And again, it's a great time to join. Take a look at the banner below. There's a code FTN March that'll get you 35% off. A great way to get started. Again, I couldn't say more about the fine folks at FTN. Of course, make sure you subscribe to this channel. You get some of that great content for free. And if you have any thoughts, questions, if there's anything that maybe I miss in this piece, put it down below. I'll get back to you in the replies there as soon as I can. Appreciate all the support. Go ahead and hit the like button too. Come on, while you're at it, you're watching. I'd appreciate it. It helps us and me specifically. But let's get down to business. I'm here to talk about NBA basketball. It is a huge Friday slate in the association. Just 2 games yesterday on Thursday. That sets up 12 games tonight. And as surprising as it can be in late March, there's a lot of really good games tonight. We have some really tight races. The Eastern Conference standings are really starting to bunch up. You've got teams fighting there. But the 2 biggest races, I really believe, are in the Western Conference. You have 3 teams, the Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Minnesota Timberwolves, all within half a game of first place. The Nuggets in the lead right now, and they play the Timberwolves tonight. Oklahoma City in action as well, possibly without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. A great race. And a little bit lower in the Western Conference standings, you've got the Dallas Mavericks, Phoenix Suns, and Sacramento Kings. Those are your 6, 7, and 8 teams, all within a game of each other, and you want to be in that 6th spot. You want to have that guaranteed playoff spot and avoid the play-in tournament. So a lot of great games, a lot of motivations to win for just about every team. We should have a pretty good slate, but does that mean it's a good one to bet? Let's try to figure that out. Again, 12 games. I've got 3 games that I have bets in. We'll start talking about those, and then we'll go through every other game in the section called Not for Noobs. I just try to explain to you what I think of each game, what I'm worried about, why I'm not betting it, or why I'm waiting to bet it later, and I'll share that bets again in the FTN Bets Discord, which hopefully you're already signed up and involved in. Now, let's get to the basketball. The very first game on the slate, and the first game for me, the Charlotte Hornets host the Golden State Warriors. The Hornets 13-point underdogs at home with a total of 220. The Warriors are now suddenly in a tight playoff race with the Houston Rockets. The Warriors have a 1-game lead over Houston for the 10th seed, that final spot in the play-in tournament, and the last chance to get into the playoffs. The Warriors do have the tiebreaker over the Rockets, so that counts as about a half a game in the standings. So if they end up tied, Golden State wins, but it's a lot closer than they want it to be. They have still managed to win games, but just not playing their best basketball. What does that mean for tonight? That means they have to beat this Hornets team. They can probably beat them anyway, but I don't expect Steve Kerr to really go away from his normal rotations. A lot of veteran teams this late in the season would rest some stars, try to play other guys big minutes here against a team they know they can win against without their best effort. But Golden State does not have the margin to play with here. They've got to win this game, and I expect Kerr to push everybody hard. That means Golden State should win this game comfortably. I do. I like them to win. I have them as about 12-point favorites here. As I've mentioned before, my model generally likes the Hornets for some reason and really doesn't tonight, which I think says a lot about Golden State. Charlotte is a bad team. They've been a little bit better with Trey Mann, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller playing together. Those 3 have been fun to watch, but everybody else on this team is borderline an NBA talent. A couple other guys who, are veterans. They'd be on another squad, but you really are looking at best bench players here up and down the roster. Think the spread, again, like I said, pretty close to correct. What I think is the total is too high. I'm really surprised here to see this at 220. When I look into some of the underlying things, this total is thinking the game's going to have a pace of about 100 possessions or so. I think it's going to be a lot less than that. Charlotte plays at a very slow pace, especially the last couple of weeks. Again, without much scoring talent, they know they have to make the game ugly to really have a chance, and that's what they try to do. At the same time, Golden State played at a faster pace to start the year, and they've started to really slow down. We've seen their scoring drop a lot since the All-Star break. They averaged over 119 points per game going into the All-Star break. Since then, just 115 points per game. It's a really big drop. I mean, that is a lot going on there. And we've seen teams drop like that all season. Again, some of that is the change in the rules. But again, when I look at it, to me, a lot of that is tied to the pace. As you play slower, there are less points, and it really makes a big difference. So I like the under tonight. I have this closer to 215, 216, even as I start to ratchet some things up. Again, maybe this game gets out of hand and a big Warriors win and it's a blowout, but I just don't really see that. Golden State has done a good job of controlling the pace. And again, I think they'll keep this game slow to keep their guys fresh. So give me under 220. Again, I like this. Even 219, 218 looks good. I think there's a lot of room here. I like the under. Next game that I like, the New York Knicks go to visit the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs 9-point underdogs, the total 213.5. The Knicks very quietly now, just a game and a half behind the second seed in the Eastern Conference. That would guarantee that they would avoid the Boston Celtics until the conference finals, should they make it so far. That makes things a lot easier for these teams. Maybe they're lucky and Boston even loses. So the Knicks and Thibodeau pushing as hard as they can to win every game. And I think they can be scary in the playoffs, but that requires OG Anunoby and Julius Randle to be healthy. They're not. Both guys are listed out tonight, and it just forces the Knicks to rely on guys that would normally be solid backups and instead are not great starters. Guys like Josh Hart, Miles McBride, they've been playing 40-plus minutes for the last week or so, and although the Knicks are still winning games, they're not winning games by a lot, and they're not blowing out teams like they normally would, like the Spurs. The Spurs are a bad team. They have one of the 3 worst records in the NBA, and that's what they're trying to do. They want to make sure they have the top draft pick. And the Knicks, again, if this was, before the All-Star break, everybody's healthy. I'm looking at Knicks. I'm laying alt points. I'm going Spurs team total under. You guys remember a lot of those bets. They were great bets for us earlier in the year, but this Knicks team is a little bit different, and I like the Spurs tonight. I think they can keep this game much closer than the spread we're looking at. As I mentioned, San Antonio, one of the 3 worst records in the league, and they are trying to lose games despite winning their last 2. They really want to make sure that they hold on to one of the best odd spots for the number 1 draft pick next year. That said, they still want to try to instill some good habits in here. You've seen Popovich start to play better lineups, trying to instill some good habits into these young guys here as they finish the season. And as long as Victor Wembanyama is healthy, they've got several lineups with a pretty good net rating, a positive net rating, and they can keep these games very close, and they have. They are 10-5 against the spread in their last 15 games. It's been really solid here, and I make this number closer to 5-6 points. The Knicks haven't been as good on the road. And again, I don't know what they're going to do against Wembanyama. Hartenstein is a good defensive player, but he's going to be overmatched here like a lot of guys. I like the Spurs tonight. I think they can keep this game close. Give me the 9 points with the underdog at home. Third game here that I have a bet in. The Houston Rockets visit the Utah Jazz. The Jazz 8-point underdogs at home. The total at 229.5. For the second season in a row, the Jazz start as this really interesting deep team, 2 good 5-man lineups. Trade a bunch of guys at the deadline, and now it's one of the worst rosters in the NBA, especially since Jordan Clarkson has been out and will continue to be out. Lauri Markkanen questionable. He's been missing games. There really is only, even if Clarkson and Markkanen are healthy, there's only about 8 NBA quality players on this team. Without them, it's pretty ugly. Now, Markkanen is questionable. If he can play tonight, maybe they can keep things close. Utah loves shooting threes, and if they can get lucky and, kind of have a good variance night from that standpoint, maybe they can make enough baskets to keep this game close, but I don't know about that. I think the Rockets win, and they win comfortably. They're the hottest team in the NBA. Have won 10 games in a row, are scoring points in bunches, despite losing Alperen Şengün, who was really the key to making their offense efficient in the half court. They've responded well. They don't play half-court offense anymore. They push hard. They attack early in the shot clock while teams are not set. They grab a lot of fast break points, and they play as fast as possible. I think they can win this game by a lot. I don't mind betting the spread, but I think there's a better angle. I'm going to go with the Rockets team total over here. It's 119.5, minus 105 at MGM. If you're looking at minus 118, minus 120, that's fine. But I like selling up here and getting a little better price on the 119.5 because – again, Houston wants to run. They want to push, and so does Utah. When Utah is at home, they're happy to play fast pace. They like running with opponents in the altitude. They think it gives them an advantage because they are used to that, and other teams are more fatigued. I expect this to be a really fast game. So instead of sweating the spread, if Markkanen can play and worrying about the Jazz having a good 3-point night, regardless of who's on the floor, the Rockets are going to score a bunch of points. I think at least 120. I have them at 122 points tonight. Give me a Rockets team total over. Now, let me go quickly through the other 9 games on the slate in this segment, not for noobs. Again, just want to let you know what I'm thinking, why I'm not betting it, what I might be doing later. Again, some bets we just have to wait till the information news is known, and you can always find those in the FTN Bets Discord. Again, as I mentioned, take a look down below if you haven't already signed up. A great discount going right now. The Los Angeles Lakers play the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. The Pacers 4-point favorites, a total 244.5. As is tradition. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are questionable. We can't bet this game until we know who's playing. These teams played on Tuesday. The Pacers actually winning in Los Angeles 150 to 145. Both stars played for the Lakers. You can see we've adjusted 8 points. The Pacers now 4-point favorites here. I think that's the market telling you they expect one of LeBron James or Anthony Davis to miss the game. I'm not interested, really. If both are in, I don't know what to do here. I bet the under on Tuesday and couldn't have been more wrong about that. It's just a tough game for me to handicap. I'm just going to let this one go. The Los Angeles Clippers visit the Orlando Magic. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the wrong spread there. The Magic are obviously not plus 12. They are, plus 2. The Clippers short favorites on the road. The Magic really struggling here. Lost their last 2 games to Western Conference opponents at home. Have struggled to figure out how to defend against teams they don't play much. The Clippers struggling. They were really hot coming out of the All-Star break. Since acquiring James Harden, they were winning games in bunches, probably the best team in the NBA for a couple weeks. Not so much lately. It just seems that everything is all of a sudden out of whack. Harden is struggling. He doesn't look well. Kawhi Leonard has been less than 100%. Things are really rough here, and the Clippers are the better team. They should be able to beat this Magic team, but I just don't know what to expect. At the same time, Orlando, they're at home. This is their 6th, I believe, or 7th consecutive game at home, and usually I like betting on teams in that situation. You see their offense become more efficient. They score more points, shoot better as they're more comfortable in their surroundings. It's just a tough game for me to trust either team. They're in really bad form right now. I'm pretty close to market. I have this game, Clippers -1, kind of in that range with a total right around 213. So close to market here and 2 teams that I'm just struggling to figure out. I'll let that one go. Man, this game stinks. The Detroit Pistons play the Washington Wizards. The Wizards somehow 3.5-point favorites, the total 227.5. Washington without Tyus Jones. Cade Cunningham might not play for Detroit. This game is terrible. These teams combined have 26 wins. There are 23 NBA teams that have more than 26 wins on their own. Let's keep going. Forget this game even exists. My Philadelphia 76ers visit the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're deservingly big underdogs. The Cavs favored by 8.5 points, the total 212. Donovan Mitchell questionable here. If he's in, I have this number closer to Cavaliers -10. If he's out, I have this number closer to Cavaliers -6. So the market here, I think, leaning towards Mitchell playing. The total 212. Obviously, that should be higher with Mitchell in, a little bit lower with him out. So we've got to wait to see what happens with him there. And at the same time, you've got a Cavaliers team that may or may not be trying to reintegrate a key piece. That's always rough for the first game or two, and have really been a little flat the last couple weeks. They're a little short, not just Mitchell missing, Strus and some other backup pieces. Mobley not 100%, so just a lot of change there for Cleveland. At the same time, the Sixers have just been brutal the last couple weeks. Finally starting to get a little healthy. Still without Joel Embiid, obviously. Still without DeAnthony Melton, who was a big piece for them. Maxey playing well. Probably should have won the game the other night against the Clippers. If you haven't already seen, check out what Kelly Oubre said to all the referees at the end of the game. It was very interesting. This number looks pretty good to me. Again, if Mitchell is out and we still get a chance to take maybe 8 points with the Sixers, I might. But again, we've got to wait. I'm not 100% on that. So if I do make that bet, it'll be in the FTN Bets Discord. Check there. This is such a hard game to handicap. The Chicago Bulls go to play the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets 3-point underdogs, the total of 215. The Nets have nothing to play for. They don't have their draft pick next year, so losing doesn't help them. Winning is nice, but they have no chance of catching up to the 10 seed and making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. There is no clue to figure out what this Nets team wants to do. The Bulls want to win. They're the 10th seed. They're pushing to try to make the play-in to be in the play-in tournament, to win 2 games there and have the honor to get smacked by the Boston Celtics in the first round. But they lost 2 games ago to the Washington Wizards at home. They lost outright to the stinking Wizards, a Wizards team that had a ton of injuries. I don't think even Kuzma played that game. At the same time, the Bulls just 2 days ago crushed the Indiana Pacers, won by 26. I don't know which Bulls team to expect. everything is harder when you sprinkle in the fact that the Nets are just a mess and at any particular night could try to do anything. I don't know how you bet this game. Again, I think the Bulls win, but hard to trust them on the road and hard to trust them the way they're playing. The Nets capable of anything. Let's move on. The Portland Trailblazers go to Miami to play the Heat. The Heat laying 13.5 points, a total of 210. Miami, the much better team. They could win this game by 15, 20 points if they want. But Spoelstra and the staff have shown in these spots against a team like Portland they can beat without their best effort. I think we'll see less minutes from Jimmy Butler, less minutes from Bam Adebayo as they try to rest their stars. Conversely, the Trailblazers have been really plucky. A lot of rookies and young guys playing their hardest for 48 minutes to try to learn the game, to try to ensure that they have a spot on this team next year or another team if they move on. So what you've seen from them is an ability to cover. And late in fourth quarters, they outscore teams that really aren't trying anymore, that have already built a big enough lead, and they sneak into the back door here. So I kind of lean towards Portland, but again, I'm not 100% sure who's playing. A lot of guys doubtful, a lot of guys questionable, and just a really bad lineup. It's just a tough game here. Again, lean Portland, but I'm going to pass. Finally here, the Phoenix Suns go to Oklahoma City. The Thunder 1.5-point underdogs, the total 228. And if you're asking why, as I mentioned at the top, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dealing with a quad injury is listed as doubtful. If he's out tonight, this number looks just about right to me. The Phoenix Suns, I have closer to 2.5, 3-point favorites here. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can somehow play, which seems unlikely, the Thunder should be easily favored here. Phoenix continues to be one of the most overrated teams in the NBA, but without Shai, the Thunder just don't quite have the star power here to keep up with the Suns. I think the Thunder really could surprise. They've got a deep lineup. They're going to win all the bench minutes tonight, I think, and they have defenders, but it's going to be hard for them to score as this game gets down. Now, Phoenix's defense isn't great. Maybe Jalen Williams or somebody like Josh Giddey even can find a way to get buckets late in the game against a bad defense, but it's hard to trust that. No bets for me here. Again, the three games I do like, give me under in the matchup between the Golden State Warriors and the Charlotte Hornets. I grabbed under 220. I like under anything 218 or higher. The San Antonio Spurs host the New York Knicks. I like them +9, really anything +8 or better. Again, I think San Antonio at home can keep this game close, possibly even dangerous against the Knicks team that is less than 100%, has been grinding through games for weeks. And finally, the Houston Rockets, the hottest team in the NBA. Give me their team total over 119.5. The spread is a perfectly fine bet. I just think this is a better angle, and we don't have to worry about whether or not Lauri Markkanen plays. I grabbed 119.5. There's 118.5s out there. I think 118.5 minus 120 is a perfectly fine bet. This is a little bit of a better bet. So look around. If you don't have an MGM account, see if you can find a cheaper 119.5 somewhere. But that's all for me. Again, thank you so much for watching. As I've said, if you haven't signed up for FTN, do it. Now is the time. There's a 35% discount code scrolling down there at the bottom. And if you have any other questions or anything else you want to know from me, dump them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, subscribe to this channel. Give us a thumbs up. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday for some more Hoops with Noops. Best of luck until then.